Before you embark on the construction of that building, have you checked to ensure it is in line with the building regulations to prevent future structural defects? Are you familiar with the building laws? Today on the Nigeria Property Show, you will get better informed on these and more. Welcome.
On Property Law and Secrets this week, we will examine the effectiveness of the building control laws of Lagos while analyzing the problems associated with construction standards. To educate us on what the building law says is Engineer Lekon Shodende. Engineer Shodende is a civil and construction engineer. He has worked in various capacities in driving the vision of the Lagos State government towards an orderly built environment. He is a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, you're welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Tell us, what exactly does the building control law say?
The building control law has several segments and sections. It's called the Lagos State Urban Development and Physical Planning Law of Lagos State of 2010, as compiled in 2015. It's a law that regulates the entire sector of the built environment. It starts with the need for you to get an approval and dovetails into what is expected of every stakeholder in the sector, be it professionals, the developer, the owner, the government, and everybody has his own, clearly defined role in the law. But for building controllers, we are more like enforcers of the law. That's building control in its ramification. Because it's expected that for everybody it's not enough that you have a permit. I'm assuming that, yes, you understand what permitting means. That is getting approval for your intended investment, construction or investment. So taking it out of that, which is our own job, before you start the real construction, that's where the control comes in. Control means working with the people, working on every project. Yes, I desire to put together a structure of X number of floors or this kind of complexity. You need to inform LabCat that yes, I'm about to start. These are my drawings. These are people working with me. So that at that point, we're now partners with you. Because LabCat is actually supposed to be a partner on every construction site, be it a new construction or a renovation. So as you're working, LabCat is certifying all your processes, that you're doing it according to what you covenant to do. Because the approval you have is more like a covenant. And LabCat is to ensure that you have that covenant. Because at the end of the day, down the line, at the end of the project entirely, LabCat will issue you a certificate, a document that says, yes, you have built to the permit. You have built right. You have used good construction materials. Your professionals on site are capable. So all this certificate will, speaks volumes. It's telling us that yes, you have built right, and the building is fit for habitation.
That's for those who comply with the law.
That's for if you comply with the law. That is right.
What is that certificate called?
It's certificate of completion and fitness for habitation. That's the final thing. That's where the job of LABCA stops.
Okay. I actually wanted to ask you, we normally hear about the National Building Code.
Yeah.
Is this domesticated in every state, or does Lagos have its own building code?
No. I mean, the National Building Code applies to the entire country. Everybody in the build sector in the country, is regulated by that National Building Code. The building code actually is what Lagos State is using as part of the Lagos Urban Development Physical Planning Law that I mentioned earlier. So it's fused into our activities is, being done in tandem with the National Building Code.
I asked that very sensitive question because of the peculiar topography Lagos has.
Well, the National Building Code has taken into cognizance the entire country with the individual peculiarities. Engineering is versatile, and no two sites are the same, but there are generic, decisions that will be made based on if this is this. Engineering is all about equations. If this is this, you do this. If this is this, you do that. So it's not just stereotyped. Nigeria is big. If it's a national document, it must speak to every part of that country. So if we have to now do another building code for Lagos, it now become overkill.
Now, how can you rate the compliance level in the state?
Thank you very much. That is the biggest challenge of LABCA for my agency, Lagos State Building Control Agency. Compliance would have been. LABCA's role as a building controller would have been easy if compliance can be done effectively by all stakeholders. But we found out that people are at a very comfortable position of non-compliance, because the records we have shows that most buildings in Lagos are not even approved. People are living in buildings that don't have approval, and people are even trying to start other buildings that don't have approval. So rather than LABCA focusing all its energy on ensuring people build to their approval, we are burning so much energy on ensuring that people get approval.
What is the level of collaboration? You just shared the challenges. I was coming to that much later, but you shared it already. What is the level of collaboration with professionals in the built environment towards achieving the set goals?
Well, to a large extent, I belong to a professional body too, so we have a good handshake with the professional bodies. Like, for example, I mentioned earlier that when we are interfacing with the client or the developer, they need to introduce to us a list of all their professionals. So you won't just introduce anybody to us and say, these are my professionals, this is my architect, this is my engineer, this is my builder, etc. We expect such people to be qualified and registered with their professional bodies.
Which aspect of the building law looks at renovation and conversion? There's been loads of conversion of residentials to commercial. We know some residential streets and areas we used to know as residentials when we were much younger that have become super high streets.
No, I won't talk about the law now. Rather, I'll talk about the planning of the state, because the question you asked has to do about land use. Residential, commercial has to do with land use and spatial arrangement of the state. And this is being directed by the master plan, because we have master plans. Lagos has, there are several master plans that have been done for several parts of the state. If the area that used to be residential years ago happens to have been captured in the master plan as commercial, and it is possible. So if we find such a property, we don't really need to enforce you to revert back to your residential use. We'll just advise you to go do the necessary processing to formalize the change of use from residential to commercial.
Now, for those who are thinking, it's not out of place to see a building turn into a church. A bungalow, just go up to 2-story buildings. What are they supposed to do?
We have offices all over the state. We have our presence in the 57 local governments and LCDAs across the state with enough monitoring officers and district heads to monitor the entire state. So these are officers that go around the area to check street by street what is happening there. If they see any form of construction or renovation or upgrade, like you said, they serve a notice like, hey, tell us, what are you doing here? Do you have a permit? Give us whatever document you have. They give you a time frame for you to respond. If you don't respond, they come to serve other notices, maybe like a quit notice if it is occupied, a seal-up notice, a stop work order, whatever is necessary for you to be served with for you to really respond. We expect you to have the documents before you can start work. But in the case whereby you don't have anything, then we need to shut you down, make sure you don't make any progress. Shutting down means that we seal the site and you don't make any more progress on the development. When we seal, you see, LAPCA we don't give any permit in LAPCA. We give no papers in LAPCA. We're just the enforcers for our sister agencies. LAPCA is that when we come to your site and we ask you, give us your approval or whatever document you have. Once you show us your approval, we are working with you. But if you don't have it, and we have to say stop work and seal up, we expect you to go to the relevant agency and start the process with them. Because we can't work with you, we can't give you any document. It is when you have resolved with them that you now come back to us with that document that you have obtained. Then we can now say, yes, you are good to go.
How exactly does LAPCA intend to go about sensitizing the public?
Over the time, we've engaged with the public, with the media, both print and paper. What's it called? TV, radio, paper, everybody. Social media. We try as much as possible to involve the media in all our activities. When we're going for any enforcement activity, we go with the media, with our media crew, for them to see what we're doing. We have a department that is saddled with this issue of public awareness in conjunction with our public affairs unit. They go around on a monthly basis all over the state. They pick local governments, one local government every month. We go there, we give out flyers, we talk to people, trying to educate them on what is expected of them. This we do every time. But we hope we will be able to scale up activities by now doing jingles. We intend to do a docudrama, funds being available, that will depict a perfect scenario of what happens when you refuse to build right. We have stakeholder engagements that we do on a quarterly basis, where we invite people to come and we talk to them. So we go to meet them, they tell us what they have and release, and we always...
Is this public enlightenment, public awareness, is it done with the local indigenous languages?
Yeah.
Do your officers engage the people?
Yes, we speak English, we speak Broken, and we speak Yoruba. These are the three languages.
I would have expected that there will be 80% compliance now.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I wouldn't know what could be the reason why people decide not to build right and follow the due process, but we as a government, we're doing everything possible to reach out to the people, tell them what they need to do or what they ought to be doing, and we're still doing it and we'll keep doing it.
Now, what is your message to Nigerians genuinely?
Nigerians.
We won't limit this to the people, to Lagos residents. There are people who have vibrant finances, and they also want to own a home in Lagos.
Well,
they will just come in once to see the site, and once you just send the money, the construction goes on. What is your message to those who think, let me just go ahead and build?
No.
Lagos is big, government can't be everywhere, and they can't see everything. What is your message to them?
My message to such people, and everybody in general, is that due process is the easiest and cheapest option to whatever you want to do. Any other process you choose to do will put you in one form of dilemma or the other. If you decide to follow due process, you'll find it cheaper and done faster. Everybody in government is supposed to serve you. But unfortunately, I don't know where the phobia comes from. People feel governance government is a place you cannot approach and get results. In Lagos State today, if you knock on anybody's door, you will get service. In this build sector, physical planning family, our doors are open. If you have any challenge, walk up to anybody and tell them what you want. And we will give you the best advice you will get. Thank you very much.
Thank you for shedding more light on the building control laws of Lagos.
Thank you for coming.
We just listened to Engineer Lekon Shodengi, General Manager of the Lagos State Building Control Agency, educating us on the salient aspects of the building control laws. We must all become familiar with these laws and try to comply with them towards an orderly environment.
Now we know what the law says. Intending builders, developers and property owners must obtain the building permit, comply with the approved plan and follow due process towards an orderly city. Thanks for watching. I am Remiola Dende.